One day, everyone in Oakhaven woke up knowing the same thing: yesterday was a lie. It wasn't a suspicion, it was a visceral, gut-wrenching certainty that settled over the town like a shroud of damp fog. They remembered the day before. A day that shouldn't exist in the linear progression of time. It was the day the clock refused to turn, a temporal hiccup that defied all logic and all established routine. Every single morning that followed felt less like a fresh start and more like a meticulously rehearsed, déjà vu nightmare. The sun rose exactly the same shade of bruised, dusty orange, painting the clapboard houses with the same sickly glow. The scent of fresh-cut grass, that potent, green perfume, never varied in its intensity or its underlying notes. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the townspeople started noticing the patterns. These were not grand revelations, but small, almost insignificant inconsistencies that kept surfacing like pebbles rolling out of a tide. A misplaced book on the communal shelf returned to its exact spot, no matter how many times it had been removed. A specific phrase, a quirky idiom, repeated by a stranger in a different conversation. It was a subtle, insidious unraveling of reality, a slow erosion of the known world. At first, we dismissed it. We told ourselves it was just collective stress, the cumulative weight of modern life, a shared hallucination brought on by too much coffee and too little sleep. But the details, oh, the details, began to pile up like autumn leaves after a prolonged drought, accumulating until they formed an undeniable, suffocating carpet. The library checkout card, bearing the same fading ink and the same accession number, was always in the same spot. The waitress at the corner diner, bless her perpetually cheerful soul, never deviated from her familiar, slightly off-key rendition of the morning greeting. I started keeping a meticulous journal, bound in worn, unremarkable leather. Every single drawing I managed to scratch onto the pages, every overheard conversation, every passing glance I felt compelled to record. I desperately needed proof that time was actually passing, that I was passing through it, that my own existence wasn't merely a loop of exquisite repetition. My friend, Sarah, noticed my deepening obsession. She found the journal, the stack of fragile, desperate testimonies. She read about the pattern, her brow furrowing with a mixture of alarm and deep concern. Then, she leaned close to me, her voice dropping to a barely audible whisper that sent a shiver down my spine. She said the town wasn't merely looping. She said it was consuming something vital. Our identities. She breathed out the truth like a terrible secret. The town was feeding on memory. The anomaly wasn't some physical glitch in the grid. It was deeply, terribly psychic. It was draining the very essence of who we were. We were becoming perfect, polished echoes of ourselves. Like characters in a poorly written, predictable play, reciting lines they hadn't earned, we started seeing it in each other's eyes. A dull, vacant glaze, like reflections staring back from water that had been utterly still for too long. We were losing our edges. Our unique quirks, the things that made us, began to vanish. The vibrant, almost reckless passion left the local art studio, replaced by polite, muted watercolors. The sharp, argumentative wit that used to dominate the town council meetings dissolved into agreeable nods. We were becoming compliant blanks. We were becoming the ideal, predictable residents of Oakhaven. We tried to fight it with noise. We threw loud, desperate arguments in the square. We even managed to gather enough dry kindling to burn things in the town square, watching the flames lick at the oppressive morning mist. But the noise just seemed to absorb. It dissolved, swallowed whole, into that thick, damp fog that always rolled in by dawn. It felt like shouting with all your lungs, your entire being, into the deepest, softest wad of cotton wool. Desperation, it turned out, became our only viable currency. We needed an anchor, something tangible, something rooted in a reality outside this cyclical nightmare. One night, under a sky the color of old slate, an old man found me. He sat near the overgrown fountain in the town square, a fixture of forgotten beauty. He looked impossibly ancient, his skin like dried river mud, but those eyes held too much knowing, too much sorrow. He spoke of an object, something only visible in the fragile, fleeting moments of dawn, a specific, forbidden artifact. He called it the chrono shard. He warned us, his voice raspy, that it was dangerous to even look at directly. He whispered that it held the core of the loop itself. The shard, he explained, was rumored to be hidden deep beneath the town's oldest, most imposing church. Reaching it felt less like a physical task and more like an existential impossibility. It required more than just digging, it demanded a willingness to sacrifice a piece of the self. The old man's gaze was heavy with finality. Survival, he warned, demanded a sacrifice, a piece of the self. The escape route wasn't freedom as we knew it, it was total, terrifying emotional blankness. We had to accept nothingness. We had to become unremembered. Sarah and I looked at each other across the fading twilight, and we knew. We had to try. We waited for the next dawn, the tension building in the air until it felt like a physical, crushing weight pressing down on my chest. I felt my own memories thinning, becoming translucent. The specific, bright sound of my mother's laugh felt distant, like a song played on a radio miles away. The name of my childhood pet, a name I hadn't thought of in years, slipped away like fine sand through my fingers. It was profoundly terrifying, like watching a film of your own life being played out by a stranger. We crept toward the forbidden church. The massive iron gates were rusted shut, groaning in protest at our presence. Near the shadowed entrance of the crypt, we found a loose, moss-covered stone. Beneath it, nestled in a small, velvet-lined niche, was the Chronos shard. It pulsed with a dull, sickly, almost repellent light. It wasn't beautiful. It felt profoundly cold, like staring into the vacuum of deep space itself. As my fingertips reached out, drawn by a force I couldn't fight, a wave hit us. A wave of pure, overwhelming nothingness. It washed over my outstretched hands. It washed over the fragile architecture of my mind. I felt a specific, vivid memory drain out: the smell of rain on hot asphalt, the exact lyrics to my sister's favorite song. They were gone, instantly replaced by a smooth, empty, unblemished slate. Sarah gasped, clutching her temples, her face a mask of terror, yet beneath the fear, a strange, unsettling calm settled. The shard pulsed brighter, its sickly glow intensifying. The town around us seemed to hold its breath, every bird silenced, every leaf suspended. The pressure built, mounting to an unbearable, agonizing peak. We had to make a choice, right then, in that suffocating moment. Do we cling desperately to the memories, thereby guaranteeing we stay trapped forever in this temporal prison? Or do we finally let go, and risk the ultimate oblivion? I looked into Sarah's eyes. They were wide open, holding the awful, perfect peace of acceptance. She nodded once, a tiny, decisive movement that echoed louder than any shout. We both stepped back, pulling away from the light, and as we did, the glow from the shard winked out completely. The oppressive, crushing pressure lifted instantly, leaving us gasping. The morning air tasted sharp, shockingly real. The sun climbed higher, finally mastering its course. The shadows, for the first time in what felt like ages, moved correctly, falling where they belonged. We stumbled away from the church, stumbling out of Oakhaven's temporal grip. We were free. But we were also profoundly strangers to ourselves. We had escaped the loop, yes, but we had paid the ultimate, irreversible price. We kept the day, but we lost the us who lived it. If you found yourself in Oakhaven, caught in that perpetual, draining dawn, what single memory would you risk forgetting to survive it? Tell us the one memory you'd never let go of in the comments below.